to the land. Through the say, precious. Yes, sir.
Another beautiful morning, and we say this is one of those special mornings, but we'll get to that. It's just good to be here because we could have been other places, they said, but it's good to be chose the house of the Lord. What better place to be on a beautiful day like this today? Now, as I began to look at this lesson and look at the subject first, I had to dig into that. It says, finding hope in the midst of oppression. So I want to take that last word, hope, and bring it first. The oppression, because when you think about it, that oppression, all last year, we was oppressed. You know that. That was the oppression right there. The whole time was oppression. And when you look at that word, and I began to look at the meaning of that word oppression, come from the word oppress, meaning against or suffocated. Do you know last year we suffocated? The whole time when that old virus came in here, that was our depression. But you know what? Even through that old virus, we come with the word hope. Well, look what we had. We had hope that God was going to let somebody find a cure or give us something that we can come out and look what we're today in the church house. Last year, that was hope that we could get back to where we are now. We didn't have it. So that was hope right there. Then we began to look at that word hope. Hope says it's an expectation. What were we expecting? We was expecting for this virus to go away so we can get back to partial of our normal life. And where we are today, we in part of our normal life. And who it happened? Because of nobody but God. He allowed him to do that. Look where we was from January to where we are today. And nobody but God. Then I began to look at our lesson. We said, we look at that lesson last Sunday, we was talking about the kingdom. And you know the kingdom had been divided. So we was talking about the northern kingdom last week, which was Ahab. Now here's the day. We're looking at the southern kingdom, which is Israel. Now you notice the two kingdoms split. They split out to Solomon died because they didn't want to do what Solomon was so cruel, they decided to split. And that's why we came with the two kingdoms. So this day, what we're talking about, we're talking about Israel. And who was the people Israel? We know that was God chosen people. And look what happened. God chosen people that's continued to do wrong. They continue to stray away. So here we are today, talking about one of the prophets. When you look in this here, you're talking about a major prophet. This is the beginning of the Old Testament about the major prophet. We have two. The major and the minor. So when we begin with this major prophet, he kicks off with Isaiah. You know, the more I study Isaiah, the more I fell in love with this guy here, because Isaiah had a message. And on that message, when you get to talk about Isaiah, it said Isaiah's message was 700 years before Christ. This was that prediction that Christ gave. This was a vision that Christ gave Isaiah. Now, when you look and think about where Isaiah was, when he went to the temple, he was down there in the temple, and he saw this vision. You know how God went through all this folks, how he come with these different visions. So he came with a vision to Isaiah. And in this vision, he told Isaiah what was going to happen. One of the prophetic prophets, 700 years before Christ even came, Isaiah gave his folks this hymn. Why did he give it to them? Because he let them know what happened to Judah. You know, that's that northern kingdom. They were so evil and worshiped all this pagan God, so he got destroyed. Because Assyrian took over there. So he told them, Isaiah, he prophesied this 700 years before Christ, Here come Isaiah telling them that in the temple there, praying, thinking about what happened there. And then God came to him. When it came to him in this vision, he said, I saw who? I saw the Lord. Isaiah said he saw the Lord in that vision. God came to him. And in that vision, I thought about what it said, and it says 6 and 8. Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? I like that. And who will go for us? Then he said, here am I. Lord, send me. You know what that means? That pushed me over into the New Testament. When I got into the New Testament, I thought about what the Canaan Spirit said. When they said, Lord, send me. And what did the Canaan Spirit say? You know, I kind of brought them with me this morning. And that's what the Canaan Spirit said. What did it say?
I'll go if I have to go by myself. Oh, I'll go if I have to go by myself.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my mother don't go, my father don't go, all my sisters, all my brothers, I'll go if I have to go by myself.
And the part that I like, when he said, I go if I have to go by myself, he said what? Lord, send who? Send me. That's what I like about it. Isaiah said, Lord, send me. I go if I have to go by myself. Now, think about it. All this stuff going on. He know that said, I want you to go. And going, your life will be taken. But he said what? Send me. I go. Then I began to think about Isaiah, continue to think about Isaiah. When you look at Isaiah, the Bible has 66 books. Isaiah has 66 chapters. Not only that, but the Bible is divided into the Old and the New. The first 39 chapters of Isaiah is dealing with the Old Testament and God.
Yeah.
The next 27 is dealing with the New Testament, Jesus. Look at here. What you talking about? 66 and 66. Isaiah was like God. 66 books, 66 chapters. When you begin to study that thing, I had got so reading Isaiah and I got so wrapped up in it that it just enticed me that what Isaiah done, what he written there. Just think about doing this right now when God told him to write. Because if he hadn't, and we're going to get into this lesson, what would have happened if Isaiah hadn't written that? Because we know when God is that power man, if he said it, it's going to happen. When God make a promise, it's going to happen. But what happened? He had Isaiah come in here. And I like about when Isaiah come here because there's a word going to jump up in here later. And then I began to look here. Said, this morning, this is Easter Sunday. So if this Easter Sunday, why are we talking about Isaiah? Did you ever read about that? Did anybody think about that besides me? Just me. Well, I began to think of the fun. I said, now on Easter Sunday, what do? We look, we hide eggs, we come to church, we wear our best. What's that? Wear our new stuff. We all do everything on Easter Sunday. We hear the message, but we miss the messenger. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about when I begin to read this thing, Isaiah is still talking about Easter. Because we said in February, we had an Easter lesson then. I thought it was because it's all about Christ. But then when I began to look what Isaiah was talking about, what is this lesson here today about? This lesson is about Christ. What is Easter about? Easter is about Christ. So what do we have? We have an Easter lesson right here from Isaiah. This was prophesied 700 years ago. And here we are this morning talking about this here. If you remember, those people back there, they didn't have it. All they had was the Old Testament. What do we have? We have the Old Testament and we have what? The New Testament, because we are the New Testament. So Isaiah already knew what we're talking about. God gave him that vision. What is doing? We live in that vision. Now, as I begin to get in this lesson, and I see something that really was good to me, when you look at this here, we have 3 subtitles. All the subtopics said two of the same word, suffering servant. Look at that word, suffering servant. Isaiah was telling me already, our suffering servant. You know, we have to become a servant. We don't need to be served. We need to be a servant. You know, that's what we want. We want somebody to serve us, but we're supposed to be that one that do the serving. And here we are talking about a suffering servant. I'm talking about Jesus, but you know what I'm talking about. He died. Who did he die for? He died for us. What Isaiah was telling you, this man is coming. But before I get into it, let's get into the lesson. Because, you know, I got up in the morning and that thing got so good to me about Isaiah. And I just said, man, that man was such a man. When you read about it and think about it, 700 years, and here we go. I might read it. Look what it says. The suffering servant, and we're talking about Jesus. Give it to us. I'm reading.
Surely he had borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted.
Look right there. Surely, I like that. He had borne our grief and carried our sorrow, yet did he esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. When I looked at that word, began to look at that grief, what did that grief mean? Sickness. What is sin? Sin is a sickness. Who carried it? We all carry it. But look what Isaiah told him. This book, the 53. 53 is predicting, telling about the future. So here we are right here. That grief is sickness. Then look what the next word he said. That's suffering, smitten. That means that terrible disease. What kind of terrible disease do we have? Sin. What sin do we have? Lie. What sin do we have? Backbite. Look at him. What happened to us? What sin do we have? Homework. What sin do we have? Not living right. What sin do we have? Hating our neighbors. This is what he said, when Isaiah was telling us what this man did, how he died for. Then he was telling them. And here we are living what Isaiah told them. Now we continue to look at that. It says that he's afflicted. Look at that. He died. That afflicted. That pain he had. What pain he had? He had that pain. That pain for me. He carried that pain. What that says. Look what the next one said. All right, read what the next one said.
But he was wounded for our transgression, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed.
Look at him. He was wounded for our transgression. What are you talking about, that transgression? I'm talking about that. I know I'm lying, but I still do it. That's that transgression sin. You know, it's our sin. I know I'm backbiting, but what do? I still do it. I know it's wrong to steal, but what do? I still steal. What is that? That's that transgression right there. That's something that you know is wrong. You know it's wrong, but what you do, you still do it. And look what Isaiah was telling them that. That's what happened right there. Then he said he was bruised. I like it. What did it mean he was bruised? Every time they hit him, they hit with me. Every time they hit him, they hit with you. That lie that you told, that was for you. That backbiting you told, that was for you. That hating folks, that was for you. Isaiah was telling them that. What are we doing? We're feeling it right now. Who are we talking about? We're talking about that Jesus. You know, that Jesus, that's what we're talking about. What Isaiah was telling them about right now. He's talking about that Jesus right there. Then look how he said it. Every time in that piece right there, he did all that, and what happened? He never said a word. Now tell me, is that not a good God? What other person would do that? Take all the bruises, take all the beat, and still not say a word. Now, that's what I'm talking about, my God. So Isaiah was telling them that back there. Then he was telling us here today what happened there. And then as I began to continue to read that, what does number 6 tell us about?
All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all.
All of us are just like sheep. We have gone astray. But, I like this but, even though when you've gone astray, I'm going to send somebody. He told me, I'm going to send somebody. When you've gone astray, just like sheep, that's going to take care of you. It says, and I began to read this lesson, and you know, there's one word that stood out to me, what Rome read about in the introduction. It says, a substitute. Did you see that word about substitute? And we know what a substitute is, especially people in education. What is that? That's somebody to come in and take your place when you are not there. And you know, as I began to read this thing, Isaiah, and that's what struck on me most. He told them, I'm going to send somebody to take your place. Think about it. Before then, I would hate to be a little cheap. Before then, I would hate to be something that was, what is it? I would hate to be something that what they make a sacrifice. You know, everything you do, you have to make a sacrifice. But what he said, I'm going to send somebody that's going to be the sacrifice in everybody. This somebody I'm going to send, he did nobody wrong. This person that I'm going to send, that I'm going to send him, he's going to take up for you. He's going to take that substitute for you. Instead of for me die, he's going to die for you. That means that lie that I told, he's going to take it. Is that right? All that stuff that I done wrong, he's going to take it. Isn't it good? Because what I like about it, if he didn't took it, and God had came and gave us justice, what do you think would have happened? I can tell you what would have happened. When he did it to Noah, what happened there? He destroyed. He told Noah to build him an ark. When God gives you justice, there's nobody else can change anything. So that's what you call giving them justice. But what he said this time, I'm going to send you a substitute to take the place of that. I'm going to send my son to be the substitute for you. He's going to be the substitute for that lie that you told and that lie that you're going to tell. You wasn't even here. But he know that I'm going to send somebody to take that for you. All this wrongdoing you're doing, he said, I'm going to send somebody to take that for you. So I'm so glad that he did that. I'm so glad that he didn't put justice on us. What did he put on us? He gave us what? Mercy. And that's something. He gave us mercy. He said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to give you justice. I'm going to send my son. Because if I do that, think about what happened to Judah. It said that whole nation was taken over by the Syrians and Babylon. Tell them this is what would happen. But instead of that, I'm going to send them, just give them somebody that's going to take the place. And you know, I continue to read about that, and I thought about that, and that was just like got so good to me. You know, because a sheep is easy to be led, and a sheep never said a word. And so that kept me all over the fuck about Jesus. Think about what he done. And do you have a question about that? You know, I just couldn't help but think about Isaiah. That got so good to me about Isaiah, his prophecy. Because I'm glad that he told Isaiah to write this. I'm glad he told Isaiah to tell him. Because if he hadn't told Isaiah to tell him, we may not be. Think about it. What he said. He said, this is the future. 700 years, I'm going to send somebody. And who is that somebody he's going to send? He sent his son. What did he send his son for? For that salvation. And what is salvation? Salvation is deliverance. Isaiah told him something they weren't used to. He told him about the word salvation. God going to deliver you. He said, now, Isaiah was telling him, and they were expecting an earthly king. Isaiah said, I'm going to send you a heavenly king. This is about saving your soul. So, and in that, he said, this king gonna come through the lineage of David. What? You know who David was. So he said, I'm gonna send somebody else through David that's gonna save your soul. And that was something we used to. Because Isaiah was telling about salvation. He's gonna deliver them. Now, as I read about that, I just can help folks. I just got so excited about Isaiah. And there's a question that's followed. If you have no question, here's a question to follow. The question says, how does knowing that Jesus suffered for you affect your level of commitment to him? How? How do you know that when they hit it? How do you know when they put that throne around him? That give you a commitment. What is your commitment to him? What is your commitment? Somebody?
Knowing that he died for my sins, from my past sins, my present sins, my future sins. He has redeemed me from a burning hell. And so once I believe that and accept that, as the scripture says in Romans, I become indebted unto Christ. And because I become indebted unto Christ, I'm no longer a slave to sin, but I'm a slave unto righteousness. Is that right?
That's it, preacher. That's what he said. What is it? When he died. Don't ask me is that right. But you know it right. Go ahead, preacher. Talk to me.
I just want to see what you're going to say. I'm just messing.
Well, I don't mind saying something.
Not only that, I'm messing.
I like it. But
Not only that,
wait.
as I said, the iniquity of us all was laid upon him. In other words, everything I've ever done, everything that I've done wrong, and everything that I will do wrong, has been laid upon Christ. And so because it has been laid upon Christ, then we're bought with a price. A price about that. And so it does affect me because even in my lowest moments, I can always take passages of scripture like this and be motivated because this is what he's done. He's given it all for us. And the least I can do, what we can do, is give it back to him.
I like that preacher. You know, I like preachers because when preacher come in, he like to challenge me, and that's good. I like that preacher because we all on the same accord. But the thing about it, when you read the word and you know the word, you good with it. When the preacher say what he's talking about, you know what he's talking about. Because if he hadn't did that, just think about it. If he hadn't told Isaiah to write this, we would do it. So he already told him to write this here. Write it, Isaiah. I want them to know about it. And not only that, when you read Isaiah, it tells us about the past. Then Isaiah also tells us about the future. And who the future? That's us. We read about the past, but we living in the New Testament to the future. He told them about this person coming. Who is this person coming? Nobody but Jesus. So why can't you commit? If you think about the things that he went through, when they whipped him, when they put thorns around him, they put nails in his hand. Who did he put the nails in his hand for? He put us. He knew that I was going to be who I am before I even got here. He knew that you're going to be who you are before you even got here. But what he did, he still went on to it. Isn't that something? He took it. Nobody else. He looked around, well, nobody would. I go. What's the song say? I go. Lord, just who? Send me. Now, isn't that something? I go. Send me. Isaiah told him that. Jesus said, send me. I go. I go what? And I redeem this world. I'm going to give you that salvation. I'm going to deliver you. And the second part, I'm ready for the second part. Thank you, preacher. The suffering servant. Humiliation. Look at it.
He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before the shearers is dumb. So he opened it not his mouth.
Look at that. He was oppressed. What does that mean? He was submissive. He was submissive. That's okay. I go. You know, I'm submissive to that. And then it said he was afflicted. That means he suffered. Why did Jesus suffer? He suffered because of us. He didn't have to be oppressed. He didn't have to suffer, but he did. And the good thing about it, out of all that, he didn't open his mouth. He didn't say a mumbling word. What do we do today? If somebody come after me, what am I going to do? I'm going to come back after this. I got to come back again because I want to show them that I know something. I'm not going to let you put me down. That's what they do. But what did Christ do? He just took it. He didn't open his mouth. And you know, as I read about that, it said 3 times that he didn't open his mouth. He didn't open his mouth for the Jews. He didn't open his mouth for Pilate. And he didn't open his mouth for Herod. He took out that and then said one word. Now, if we're going to pattern our life, who should we pattern our life after? Jesus. Who am I talking to? I'm talking to the believers. Now, if you don't believe this, you're going to do what you've been doing all the time. I'm going to come back after you. I'm going to talk about you. I'm going to let everybody know that I can stand my ground. But if you want to be like Christ, you're just not going to say, That's what he did. We all say we want to be Christ-like. I continue to look at that. Dumb as a lamb. You know, a lamb just lead them. They getting ready to be killed. They just still come on. What Christ did, he was just like a lamb. He was led to the slaughter. Isn't you glad about that? He was led to the slaughter. Because if he had, think about it. What would we be if Christ had been led to the slaughter? We say it looks bad, but when you look at the mess in between that, you see that it looks good. Because that goodness has got us right here today. Because of who goodness? God goodness. God, goodness, sent his son to die for you and to save. And, as I continue to read that, go ahead, sister. This guy good.
He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living, for the transgression of my people was he stricken.
Here's a man, done nobody wrong, taking